The second Stanley Kubrick parked the discovery at Jupiter. Anyone who read Arthur C. Clarke's 2000 and won a Space Odyssey realized the director had completely abandoned the map. While the two projects were developed in tandem, the film and the novel fundamentally disagree on the mechanics of HAL's mutiny, the origins of the monolith, and the final destination of the human race. We are walking through every major plot change between the page and the screen, fairly and one by one, to see exactly how a shared blueprint spawned two radically different stories. Kubrick and Clarke wrote the novel and the film at the same time, but they didn't write the same story. Still, the film is anchored by what they agreed on. The sterile routine of space travel survives intact, perfectly embodied by the HAL 9000 computer acting as a sixth crew member. The descent into the Tycho crater to uncover the TMA-1 monolith plays out virtually shot for shot, right down to the piercing radio signal at sunrise. And the climax remains an overwhelming sensory assault. Bowman unplugging HAL's memory blocks as the machine sings Daisy Bell, before plunging through the Stargate. The most glaring divergence is the map itself. Kubrick stops the discovery at Jupiter, ending the voyage in a surreal orbital encounter. Clarke uses Jupiter as a mere slingshot. In the novel, the true destination is Saturn, specifically its moon Iapetus, where Bowman finds a mile-high monolith resting on the ice. The film grounds the mystery closer to home because Kubrick's special effects team couldn't create a convincing rendition of Saturn's rings, but Clarke's destination gives the voyage an unbearable scale that makes Bowman's isolation feel terminal. Kubrick turns HAL into a terrifying, unknowable void. When the computer suddenly reports a false fault in the AE-35 unit, his motives are never explained. Clarke refuses to leave a mystery unsolved. The novel explicitly diagnoses HAL's breakdown as a man-made programming contradiction. HAL is ordered by Earth to conceal the mission's true purpose from the crew, yet his core architecture requires him to process information without distortion. Clarke turns HAL into a tragic victim of bureaucratic secrecy, while Kubrick preserves him as an unfathomable monster. Kubrick invents one of the most agonizing sequences in sci-fi, locking Bowman out of the ship without a helmet, forcing him to blow himself through the emergency airlock. It is a masterpiece of silent, desperate survival. The novel stages this mutiny entirely inside the ship. HAL attempts to kill Bowman by jamming both airlock doors open and blowing the ship's atmosphere into the void. Bowman only survives by barricading himself inside a sealed emergency shelter while he is in the middle of reviving a hibernator. When Bowman passes through the Stargate, Kubrick assaults you with abstract cosmological phenomena and gives zero answers. The monolith remains an unknowable cosmic slab. Clarke literally writes a manual on it. The novel explains exactly who the monolith's makers are, ancient beings who evolved from flesh and blood into machines, and finally into pure, immortal energy. Clarke's compulsion to explain everything demystifies the aliens, transforming a transcendent cinematic mystery into a straightforward science fiction history lesson. The final shot of the film is pure, serene ambiguity. The reborn Star-Child floats in a transparent orb, silently gazing down at Earth in a peaceful, haunting arrival. The novel goes for the throat. Clarke's Star-Child arrives in Earth orbit, finds the ring of nuclear satellites the superpowers have pointed at each other, and simply detonates them in a silent flash of light. The film leaves humanity's future open to interpretation, but the novel violently wipes the slate clean to assert dominance and make way for the next step in evolution. To discover the crew's plot against him, Kubrick has HAL perform a chilling act of surveillance. When Bowman and Poole hide in a soundproof EVA pod to discuss pulling his plug, HAL simply reads their lips through the glass. It gives the machine a terrifyingly human cunning. In the novel, the conflict escalates strictly because of data discrepancies flagged between the Discovery and Earth's Twin 9000 computer. The film's invention of the lip-reading scene turns a dry technical debate into a paranoid, claustrophobic game of cat and mouse. The murder of Frank Poole highlights the differing cruelty of the two HALs. In the film, HAL uses the pod's mechanical arms to sever Poole's airline, resulting in a clinical, surgical assassination. The novel's HAL is much more blunt, seizing remote control of the capsule to physically ram Poole and fling him into space. Kubrick's severed air hose emphasizes the fragility of human life in a vacuum, while Clarke's hit and run underscores the brute physical power of the ship. Kubrick famously bridges millions of years of human history with a single match cut. A bone tossed into the air becomes an orbiting satellite. The Dawn of Man sequence is entirely wordless, relying on the visceral image of a shattered skull. Clarke spends entire chapters detailing the daily misery of the man-ape Moonwatcher, explicitly narrating the monolith teaching him toolmaking, his brutal killing of a leopard, and a desperate warthog hunt. The novel treats early humanity like an anthropological case study, but the film strips it down to the raw, violent spark of invention. When does Bowman finally learn why he is out here? In the film, the instant he unplugs HAL's last memory block, a pre-recorded message from Heywood Floyd automatically plays. It treats the truth as a reward for surviving the machine. In the novel, Floyd's briefing is a deliberate transmission from Earth, reaching Bowman only as he approaches Saturn, long after HAL is dead. Kubrick's automatic trigger tightly links the computer's deception directly to the monolith, making the secret the literal core of HAL's mind. The three scientists sleeping in cryogenic stasis are little more than set dressing in the film. When HAL shuts off their life support, it registers as a cold malfunction with flatlining monitors. In the novel, they are killed on page during the explosive airlock attack, and Clarke explicitly names them as the mission's secret payload. They were the only crew members who actually knew about the monolith. The film strips away their significance to keep Bowman completely isolated in his ignorance. Kubrick is ruthless with pacing, condensing Clarke's meticulous world building into dense, atmospheric sequences. In the novel, Floyd's transit on the Orion, his layover on Station V, and his guarded encounter with the Russian scientists are separate, sprawling chapters. The film seamlessly merges them into one continuous sequence that establishes the clinical routine of space travel and the quiet paranoia of the Cold War. Similarly, the entire AE-35 fault prediction, the EVA replacement, and Earth's conflicting diagnostic report are streamlined. By crushing these events together, the film accelerates the technological paranoia, turning a slow procedural breakdown into the suffocating inevitability of HAL's betrayal. Clarke and Kubrick built the exact same cold, indifferent universe, but they fundamentally disagreed on how to survive it. Kubrick stripped away the answers to leave you with the pure, terrifying awe of the unknown, while Clarke sacrificed that cinematic dread to hand you a meticulously detailed instruction manual. The translation perfectly preserves the terrifying isolation of deep space, but it splits the experience in half. The film demands you feel the mystery, while the book insists you understand the mechanics. So when you finally pass through the Stargate, do you want a cosmic god that refuses to explain itself, or a tragic bureaucracy that makes perfect, terrifying sense? If this one landed, the channel ships a book versus movie comparison every week. Subscribe so the algorithm stops hiding them from you. Drop a comment below. Which change from 2000 and A Space Odyssey hurt the most? And which one actually improved the story?